right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We are going to be doing our top 10 squads video, and we're doing things with the changes with Grand Arena. I'm going to start doing this different every month. Number one is I'm bringing in a resident expert, Gom over here, who did lose to GAC in the devs GAC. Like, you know, I had to remind you, I know you've been recovering from this. It's been a hard thing. Lose to Cubs fan Han. You doing all right?
Cubs fan won't let me forget, so yes.
We'd have to rematch. If it was 1v1, I'm not so sure. It was nice having Grit in there helping me out. I'll just say that.
Hey, we might now. With these new changes, there's a possibility, right? So who knows?
Yeah, you never know. So anyway, Gom, really, really stout GAC player, one of the top players in the world. Tell us a little bit about what you do over on Operation Metaverse for anyone who isn't familiar with you guys.
It's more of it's a very competitive, I would say. We're competitive play. We cover lots of Grand Arena, talk about TW strategy a lot. Go over the typical news updates. We stream over on Twitch 3 times a week, so nice. This all live streaming now. So
cool. So as we merge into these changes, guys, tip number 1. Sub to Operation Metaverse. Link to their stuff is down below. Really, really great GAC strategy here. So here's how we're going to be breaking down our top 10 list from now on. We're going to actually have 2 top 10 lists. One for defense and one for offense. We're going to do our very best to use no duplicate characters. So this is something you guys can copy and paste into your games as much as you would like to try to get the maximum effectiveness as we get into this. So you ready to go, Gom?
Oh, yeah, man.
All right, so we're going to shrink over here. We're going to start with the right side of the list. First 2, we have got Grievous at number 10 and JTR at number 9 for defense. Now, one thing I'm going to call out before we reveal the whole list, you guys can use a lot of these teams on offense if you want. We just feel like these teams are most effective on defense. So tell me a little bit, Gom, about why you like these 2 teams for defense specifically.
I think Grievous is still on the list. He could get pushed out relatively soon. Just lots of counters for it now, but still takes a good counter. Everybody knows how to beat it, but everyone, you got to use a pretty good team to beat it. And it does drain banners. And JTR, if you get your Resistance Hero Finn fast enough, you get your BB-8 and R2 fast enough, you can get a lot of turns out in a row. There's exposed mechanics to steal banners, all sorts of ways for this team to, both these teams basically are good for draining a handful of banners.
Yeah, and that's a big consideration that you really want to have on defense, especially when you get into the upper brackets. It's not always about getting a hold. Sometimes it's just about tripping your opponent up enough that they walk out with 50 banners instead of 60. Those can be the little wins there. So next up, we've got CLS and Mon Mothma is in at number 8. Now we do have there's some characters that we're including on here that are a little bit theoretical right now because we haven't had a chance to see some of these teams in action for GAC, but we're pretty confident that this Mon Mothma team with Kyle Katarn, all the survivability he adds, the damage he adds, all the assisting prowess, and everything that comes with him, that this is going to be a very stout defensive team. Maybe offensive. We've seen some footage of some offense capabilities for Kyle Katarn in here, but I don't know about you, Gom. This is kind of my philosophy, but I just like to let my opponent figure out something new rather than trying to use something new to figure something out. That's just me.
Well, in Mon Mothma, the problem with her is she's so vulnerable to Imperial troopers and Trey, obviously. But if you can draw out Trey, Kyle Katarn's turn meter to start the battle can get you out in front of the troopers, right? And there's so much offense being spread around. They all share it with each other. Yeah. It could if Kyle Katarn gets out there, you get the train going before your opponent. It could be over before they know it. So I'm looking forward to Kyle Katarn a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, especially I would love to see this draw out a Treya, right? Because you take Trey in against this, I think it's going to be a loss because you're just not going to be able to kill the team fast enough. I mean, unless you're able to survive long enough for Nihilus to just annihilate enough, which I don't think will happen with a good Kyle Katarn. You probably will need to see a relic Kyle Katarn for this to be effective, though.
Yeah, just all offense on this team. All offense sets. So everybody's getting boosts to their offense percentage. Share it with somebody else. This team could hit hard, even on the assists. So again, and then you don't need Omicron for this. Kyle Katarn's Omicron is unnecessary. It's a TB one. So it's nice to see one of these new characters just being plugged in with no extra investment. So
Are you not anxious to equip Territory Battle Omicron?
No.
No,
not,
what?
not unless we get a third Territory Battle.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're gonna show 6 and 5. We'll talk about 6 first because we're kind of covering up 5. But we got Darth Revan all the way down here on the list at number 6. Now we are including GLs in the list this time. I mean, before we've kind of had the GL only list, the non-GL squads list. We're just doing top 10 defense in general, and so that's really the main reason why we're seeing Darth Revan showing up this low. And then we also have Gas showing up down there at number 5. Any comments on these guys, Dom?
Well, these two are still they're tried and true. And the Gas team, if you mod it up, very, very high protection, very, very high protection, very fast. It can kind of thwart the CLS counters. But both these teams, 5 and 6, DR and Gas, a lot of people still use GLs. A lot of people are keeping all their GLs on offense. And if any non-GL team draws out a GL, I think that's a win. And both of these teams still do that pretty effectively.
And especially if you want to get the good banners, right? I mean, a lot of times I'm using my solo Kylo against Darth Revan to get, and I get good banners, but they drew out my Kylo. And so I'm only comfortable doing that, though, if I've seen the back wall, because you just never know what you're going to see back there. So, All right, I am really excited about number 4. We have got Qui-Gon Jinn with the Omicron. Now, and also Rey here. We're going to talk about her in a second with Rose. That might surprise some people, but we're serious about this one. But let's talk about Qui-Gon first. The top-rated non-GL defensive squad in our opinion. Now, a little bit of a bold move, Gom, because we actually haven't seen this in action yet, but I think it really speaks to just how solid that Omicron looks. Combine that with the speed that Cam can add to the team, the offense Cam can add to the team, that just really, really makes this team an absolute tear. And what I'm predicting is, unless you're taking a GL against this, you are probably not going to get through this team on the first go, because you have to kill Qui-Gon. If you put Anakin in on this team, the offense boost he's going to get on that Qui-Gon sacrifice is going to make that AoE absolutely, utterly horrifying, and will very likely just wipe teams. Just done.
And again, we haven't seen it in action quite yet, but, we've all tried the Cam unique. It's been underwhelming. We've tried the Qui-Gon Jinn lead. It's kind of underwhelming. Yeah. But now you combine the two together with this Omicron. Like you mentioned, Anakin. You got Grandmaster Yoda too. Heaven help you if Grandmaster Yoda can steal offense up from the other side and give it to Anakin right before he pops his AoE. That's going to be a wipe.
And when he gives that, he's also going to be giving Foresight.
Yeah, so Foresight does add extra elements. I don't have my abacus handy to calculate all the extra offense you'll get, but you're talking tens of thousands of extra offense in some situations. So it's going to be exciting. It is going to be tough to beat. Tough to beat. Very fast team too, with the Cam unique, the leadership bonus. You're giving so much extra speed to this team. This is GL light on paper. So
it's gonna be nuts. And we might not have the actual calculations. Refer to Gridden for that. I know he put together he put some crazy math together on how much damage this team is gonna do. But it's sufficient for me to just slip into K2SO mode and say it's high.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I'm not looking forward to facing it, but looking forward to what actually evolves to be the best team, like how people run it and the modding and stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So I don't think that enough people are talking about Rose Tico's Omicron, and I'm serious. I think we think about Rose maybe buffing up a secondary resistance team, and that doesn't seem likely. But the extra offense from exposes that can happen with Rey in on the team could be amazing, and all those crits feeding the turn meter to the team. Rey is already one of the best defensive characters in the game. Very, very hard to get high banners against Rey. A lot of times you're gonna just squeak away with 47 to 50 banners against Rey teams. Add Rose Tico in here, and I think that it just makes it that much harder. And you can save, in my opinion, you're likely going to be able to save that full JTR team so that you can have Rey be what she is with Rose, and that Omicron, and JTR with the Resistance Bros. What are your thoughts, Gom?
Well, it's the exposes are nice, and that's why we got Poe and Resistance Trooper in here. But
Yep.
it's the turn meter element that is nice, right? So you get 5% every time you get a critical hit. I haven't used the rose, but one would assume that you get 25%. Like let's say if you use Vet Han, all 5 AOE, all damages instances from his AOE, yeah, that should give you 25% turn meter. So lots and lots of turns
Yeah.
for your team. So and the quicker you can have Rey take turns herself, the more lifeblood she can get herself ready for the whirlwind attack. So you're just firing off whirlwinds left and right. Could be very interesting. This is something you actually brought to my attention. I hadn't considered Rose with Rey prior to doing this video with you. So this is something I'm interested now. Save your Omicrons though, guys. Save your Omicrons.
Yeah, it might take a while before we see this with a lot of people. Although, if Mara Jade ends up being dark side, I'm going to have to equip a Rose Tico Omicron because I made a bet with Heinze. Unfortunately, I don't have Rey, though, so I won't be your guy, guys. So that's why we put it at 3, because it is, in theory, I think it is possible that this might take people off guard and maybe even be the number 2 or number 1 defensive team in the game. We're not gonna be quite that high on it because it's just a theory craft at this point. We haven't seen it in action, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. All right, numbers 1 and 2 on the list. We've got your boy Lord Vader showing up there at number 1. Look, when you put a full tank team around this Lord Vader, it is absolutely terrifying to be able to just get through him. I mean, this is a timeout team to the max, and notably, we're not even putting Maul in on this team.
Well, that's something we learned in the speed gack, right? Like all of us had to face Lord Vader. We just saw that Kenobi, without even Cat on the team, just takes down every Lord Vader team. Maul, no Maul, 4 tanks, 3 tanks, 2 tanks, it doesn't matter. If you have a counter to the team, it's vulnerable with or without Maul, probably to the same counter. So, and Maul is, and we'll talk about this, I guess, at a later date. Maul is way too dynamic offensively, just to have somebody beat it with the same counter that they would have with or without. So that's why we left him off. I'm sure there's a case against it, but it's just my personal feelings. And of course, Kenobi. Kenobi still. We've all fought it. We all have our counter, but it's one counter, right? We have one counter for it. So.
Yeah, and I almost always just mirror match it, right? And I'm gonna absorb that hit, and it's one thing that makes Kenobi so good on defense is it's almost guaranteed. It is guaranteed to take. You're gonna lose a character when you have Cat in there. You will lose a character, and notice I think that the team probably is more likely to get a hold if you use Kenobi in instead of Mace. The reason we have Mace there is because he works well enough on defense, and we're trying not to use any duplicates here, and we think that Kenobi is going to work very, very well in that Qui-Gon Jinn team. And so if you've got that Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron, try to get that team up there. You really don't lose a ton by putting Mace in on this team, I don't think.
Well, something we forgot to mention about Qui-Gon Jinn, if you don't have Cam, it's not going to be quite as impactful, right? So if you don't have Cam, then you could obviously, slot in Kenobi up here, and you could probably even build a full Padme team. We included Padme on the team simply because she doesn't have a home anymore. She has no supporting cast, so she got slotted in here.
We're breaking her heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do think on the Lord Vader team, like I know a lot of people are really skeptical that Lord Vader has to have Maul in there. You want to put Maul in there, go ahead and put him in there. I just I think in our experience, we've seen Lord Vader be formidable plenty without Maul, just with this full tank set, just to make Lord Vader as beefy as possible and hard to get to and very hard to kill.
Indeed.
So, all right. Well, that rounds out our first top 10 defense list. We are going to be back for an offense list probably next week sometime. We're gonna have both of these ready for you guys for the first round of GAC post changes. Gom, any final thoughts on these defensive squads? Anything that you want to call out?
Well, it's nerve-wracking to do a first list because we both know how this is going to look 3 months from now. It's going to be completely different. So I'm interested to see what the community does with these new characters. I'm interested to see how teams stack up with these Omicrons. It's going to be a lot big learning experience coming up, and I'm very excited with the new changes, with all this new stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
I cannot wait to see footage of Qui-Gon Jinn in Grand Arena with his Omicron. I cannot wait.
You better look quick because it might be over in 15 seconds. So
it's going to be a 15-second battle.
Yeah.
But anyway, so good stuff. Well, Gom, I want to thank you for coming. Always appreciate your expertise. And again, everyone, check out his stuff down in the comments below, or down in the description below, rather. And as always, my brothers, don't forget,